Alrighty guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be having a look at my up-to-date recommended build for the Executioner. Now a lot of you guys have been asking about it. Now I want to point out some very important key factors when deciding your build on Pyramid Head. There are quite a few ways to play him. Now if you're unaware of his ability, he has a lot going for him. Now what does his ability do? Well, basically if he holds right mouse button, he will drag a very large sword along the ground. It's a butcher's knife, but he'll drag it along the ground, making a trail of torment behind him. Any survivor that runs or walks through the trail of torment will scream and have the barbed wire effect around their screen. You'll be able to look in the bottom left hand side of the screen and you'll be able to see who is affected by the barbed wire. Now remember this, it's going to be important later on during the video. While Pyramid Head is dragging his sword along the ground, if he presses left mouse button, he will stab the sword into the ground and he will flick it up. When he flicks it up, it'll do an animation where rubble will come out of the ground and can hit survivors, right? It goes through walls, it goes through pallets, it can hit multiple targets. He also can run double duration add-ons, or he can run double range add-ons as well. Keeping in mind, whenever Pyramid Head drags his sword along the ground, it will drain his ability, which will recharge when he's not using his ability. The Trail of Torment will stay on the ground for a period of time as well. That being said, a survivor that urban evades or crouch walks over the Trail of Torment will not be under the effect. If they're already under the effect, they cannot be under the effect again. The effect will last for the rest of the game until you down a survivor. When you down a survivor, you need to make a decision. You can stab the sword through them, which will send them to a cage across the board far away from you, which counts as a hook, or you can hook a survivor. Now, what is the difference? A survivor you stab through the ground will go in a cage right across the board. They will still have 60 seconds before struggle, and then 60 seconds from struggle to death. They will have periodic easy skill checks to land. If they miss it, it'll cut quite a substantial amount of time off their life. Remember, Pyramid Head is a 115% movement speed killer with a 32-meter terror radius, so he cannot get across the board quickly. If he, for whatever reason, comes within heartbeat or very close towards a survivor in the cage, they will instantly get sucked through the ground, the timer will pause, and they'll get teleported across the board. Therefore, he cannot camp somebody in the cage. While a survivor is in the cage, hook saving them does not count as a hook save. Therefore, giving a survivor borrowed time will not work. A survivor having decisive strike will not work. Any deliverance will not work. None of these perks can benefit somebody being in the cage. Remember, Pyramid Head can hit multiple targets as well with his chain move. Now, why would you send somebody to a cage rather than hooking them? It saves time. And you can also do a little cheeky thing. Say I just sent Megan to the cage and she was saved. That means Megan will no longer have the effect of barbed wire. Say Megan gets in the barbed wire again and I down her. I can then cage her again. On the third time that she gets downed and in barbed wire, I can mori her on her location. Now wait, let me explain that. You have to hook a survivor 2 times and then a third time to kill them on hook, or you can cage them 3 times. You can integrate both. You can cage them and then hook them, and then if they're under the effect of the barbed wire, mori them. You can do any order that necessary. Remember, whenever sending them towards the cage will count as a hook. Now, what a lot of really good Pyramid Heads will do is they'll try and get you under the effect of the barbed wire. They will hook you, then they will hook you, then they will mori and kill you on your location. That way they don't have to worry about it for the late game. That's what a lot of good Pyramid Heads will do. A lot of great Pyramid Heads will understand the value between hooking and caging. If I just down Megan and I hook her, and then Jeff was waiting for a hook save, and I grab Jeff off the hook, I would drop Jeff on the ground, I would stab the sword through Jeff, get Jeff across the board. If Jeff is saved within the next 10 seconds, I know there are at least 2 survivors in that general direction, meaning 1 person is Maya. If I had barbecue, I'd have information provided through the first hook I did as well. Thrilling Tremor will activate when you pick up a survivor as well, therefore Jeff would have given it to me too if it was still on cooldown from the person that was currently on the hook. Now that might sound like a lot of information. This is a complicated killer, but can work really well if you know how to play him. Now let's walk up and look at his ability a little bit further. Now remember how I told you he stabs the sword into the ground? When he does that, he loses momentum. He'll be holding the sword, and he won't be able to turn his camera to be able to do that hit through the ground, okay? There is a small window of about 1.5 seconds where Pyramid Head lifts up the sword just before he slams it into the ground. The second it's in the ground, he suffers a movement speed penalty. While it's lift up, he doesn't suffer a movement penalty. So literally the 1% Pyramid Head gamers that are really good at him will know that when a survivor is running for a pallet, you lift up the sword, and if he drops the pallet, you slam it and you hit him through the pallet. If he doesn't, you cancel the animation and you M1 him. Much like a Demogorgon shred. Now a Demogorgon will come up to a pallet, activate his face and go for a shred, and if you respect, he'll go through an M1 you. This is the exact same same thing, but he can hit you through the pallet when a Demogorgon cannot hit you through the pallet, making it phenomenally good if you know how to play Pyramid Head. Commonly used perks you'll see will be things like I'm All Ears. When a survivor fast folds a pallet or a window, you can see them through the wall and try and go for the crazy hit. The longer you channel your ability, the less charge you will have. Now, Pyramid Head is one of the few killers in the game that can use his ability without it being full. Who's a killer that needs their ability full? Let's take a look at the Spirit. When the Spirit activates her phasing, even if she doesn't gap close, the bar will start going down. 2.5 second activation time, 176% movement speed for approximately 4 to 5 seconds with a 12-second downtime. She has to wait for the whole bar to be refilled before she can activate it again. Legion is another example. When Legion hits a survivor with Feral Frenzy, it will reset, but if he cancels the ability, he can't reactivate it till it's at full. Pyramid Head can activate the sword in the ground and hit the survivor. He can then do it again if he misses. He can then do it again if he misses. He can then do it one more time. Now remember, whenever he's slamming it into the ground and he misses, he's on a bit of a cooldown where he can't move for a little bit. He gets a movement penalty. The bar recharges during that time, allowing him to constantly spam the ability. The better you get at Pyramid Head, the less you're going to need to spam it because you can get some crazy hits. It is a very generous hitbox as well in a straight line. Remember, a lot of survivors will look in one direction then sidestep the other way, much like they do against the Huntress. Now that is a basic kit and understanding, basic, there was a lot of information, of how Pyramid Head's ability works. Now let's have a look at the perks that I recommend on him. Now you're going to notice Corrupt Intervention. Now realistically, the first perk is based on what do I want to do? Am I a fast killer? Well, I'm 115% movement speed. Can I teleport around the board like Freddy Krueger? No, I can't. Can I get around the board fast like the Billy or Oni? No, I can't. Or the Nurse or the Spirit? No. Therefore, I'm slow. So will I get more value out of Ruin, or will I get more value out of Corrupt, funneling survivors together and also preventing a 3-gen early, well, helping me with a 3-gen for late game if I go for that? Well, Corrupt is a bargain then. Corrupt is going to bring them closer together. The next perk is Information. Now, I could get rid of Thrilling Tremor for Barbecue or for Modern Abuse, but I already have a 32 meter tear radius. Reducing a 32 meter tear radius to 24 meters isn't going to benefit me as greatly as it would on a Michael Myers. Michael Myers moves at 115% movement speed, and in stage 2 he will be moving at 115% movement speed with a 16 meter heartbeat. Modern Abuser Michael Myers would get a much better benefit, giving him an 8 meter heartbeat in tier 2, a 0 meter heartbeat in tier 1, and a 24 meter heartbeat in tier 3, as opposed to a 24 meter heartbeat Pyramid Head. So therefore, Discordance is not a good option because I'm not going to be able to sneak up on people. So Thrilling or Barbecue is the option. Based on the fact I can't get around the board quick, what would be a better option? In my personal experience and opinion, I prefer Thrilling Tremor. Thrilling does have a bit of a cooldown, but that is okay. I also have Pop Goes the Weasel for when I hook a survivor. Now, if I was feeling really cheeky, I could get rid of Thrilling Tremor and put on Surveillance based on the fact I'm currently running Surge as well. But remember, I can't get around the board at a very quick rate. Now let's have a look at the next perk I'm looking at. It's for stability. It's Pop Goes the Weasel. Now I want to mention this. Remember how I was talking about stabbing the survivor and making them go through the ground? Well, remember, they have to run through the effect on the ground and have the barbed wire on them for you to be able to do that. Much like a plague, when you're sick and you're coughing, you'll have the same effect at the bottom of the screen. You know, you'll be able to tell if a survivor is under the effect of the barbed wire. Now that being said, if I cage somebody, I do not get barbecue and I do not get barbecue and chili. I do not get Thrilling Tremor. I do not get Pop Goes the Weasel because I sent them to a cage. However, if I down Jeff and he's under the effect, based on if I know where I'm going, I can cage him straight away, or I can pick him up for information through Thrill, and if I felt necessary, I can drop him and cage him. That way I still get that perk. That is a lot of time to waste, and it's not always going to be the right call. That being said, Surge is also going to give me information of who is around, what generators are around, and what is currently going on. Pop will only work when I hook a survivor, and believe it or not, the way I play Pyramid Head is I try and get everyone under the effect of the cage, I try and only hook, and then I try and Mori a survivor after they've been hooked twice. That is generally how I will play it. That being said, if somebody makes a poor play, if I have a 3-gen on one side of the map and I downed a guy in between it, I need to think, how many survivors are left? 4 of them? There's 4 people? I wouldn't hook them in between the 3-gen. Okay, there's only 3 survivors left. How close are these gens to being done? They're really close. I might cage this guy, send him across the board, and get regression on my generators. That way they don't pop adrenaline. So you have to react to the situation that presents itself in the game to be able to get the full beneficial of when to and when not to cage. Some people cage to counter DS. It just depends on what you are going to be doing at the time. Therefore, I do have Pop Goes the Weasel for my stability on objectives. Some people will say Infectious Fright. Infectious can be a good idea if people do stack. Same with All Ears. It's all about what people are doing. Some people run Enduring and don't respect pallets. Some people run Brutal. Enduring isn't a bad choice, because if you're really good with Pyramid Head and you take a pallet stun, you can recover, slam it in the ground, and hit an enemy. They will have time to react, and you will probably need range add-ons, but you can make it work if that's the kind of play you're going for. I don't recommend it. Remember, this is what I am suggesting based off no add-ons. With add-ons, I would probably recommend a bit of a different build. Now, the most common add-ons you will be seeing are things like this right here. Moderately increase the duration, allowing him to be able to use his ability more, spam it out more often. You'll also see this one here, which will allow you to have more reach. You will see quite a few people running double reach as well. It just depends. This will allow your effect to be on the ground for a longer period of time. Now, if you think you can drag your sword through the ground underneath somebody around the hook, that way you can put the effect around them, think again. There is a certain distance where it'll automatically despawn near a hook and a generator, these kind of objectives. So you cannot do that, I'm afraid. Now, the final perk you'll notice is Surge. Whenever I down a survivor through an M1, Surge will activate. If I down somebody through the sword in the ground, it will not activate Surge. Therefore, this is a kind of thing that'll come into effect only 50% of the time, much like Pop Goes the Weasel. Under the right circumstances and I can down somebody making a bad play, I can get both of them. If they made a good play and I have to hit them through the pallet, I cannot get both of them. I will only get Pop Goes the Weasel, but I will always have stability on a generator. Based on the fact I can't get through the board quickly, I want to have as much regression on objectives as I possibly can. Alternatively, you can look at Ruin and Surveillance with Pop and Surge. Surge does work with Ruin, but Pop will not, but it's there for stability after you lose Ruin. There are a lot of ways you can build this killer. This is just what I recommend to him. Honorable mentions, like I was saying before, would be things like Infectious Fright. You can always give somebody a heartbeat through Dark Devotion. At the same time, you cannot through your special ability. Therefore, you can't give Sloppy Butcher through your special ability. You'll notice it's a very strong core build. In fact, I recommend this build on an up-to-date Doctor build as well that you guys might see in a couple of videos as well. That also being said, that's going to cover it as well. If we have a look at his iridescent perk, his iridescent add-ons, what do we got? Basically, when sending a survivor to the Cage of Torment, reveal the auras of everybody else for 6 seconds. So when you stab somebody through the ground, they get sucked in and they're in a cage. You can see where everybody else is. It's both good and bad. Remember, you want to save the cages generally for the Mori, depending on the map and the situation you're currently in. And this basically gives him Insidious when he's walking on the Trail of Torment on the ground, which is very bad, unfortunately. Anyways, guys, that's going to be all for an educational, informative, up-to-date understanding Pyramid Head and what I recommend for him. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you slap that subscribe button. I do educational survivor and killer content all the time over at Twitch. If you want to pop in the live stream, if you think you know everything about DBD, you can help me teach the people that do not. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the fog in the next video.